Now students, the giant allowed the children to play in his garden. He understood his mistake, that he was being selfish, and now every afternoon after the school got over, the children used to come and play in his garden, play with him also. And he had become very kind and sharing, and he was loving. He loved the children so much, and children also used to love him. But no matter how many children came and played with him, he still missed the small little boy whom he had picked up and placed on the tree, and who had kissed him, and who was the first child to give him the love. So he wished that one day the child will return and he will be able to meet his little companion, little friend once again, and he will be able to play with him. But it was not happening. Years went by and the giant grew very old and feeble. He could not play about any more, so he sat in a huge armchair and watched the children at their games and admired his garden. Admire, to appreciate, to look at something very lovingly. So he grew old, he became old, and he could not play with the children anymore. So he used to sit in his garden in a large armchair, and he used to observe the children playing, and he used to get amused by seeing them playing, as well as he used to look around his garden and used to be very pleased that his garden was looking very beautiful and wonderful with the children all around. I have many beautiful flowers, he said, but the children are the most beautiful flowers of all. He said that there are so many beautiful flowers in my garden, but the children, the enjoying, the happy, the gay children, the uh, uh, the chirping, the frolicking children, they were the most beautiful flowers in the world. One winter morning, he looked out of his window as he was dressing. He did not hate the winter now, for he knew that it was merely the spring asleep and that the flowers were resting. So one winter morning, he was dressing up and he looked out of his window. He found that it was winter, to some extent winter, and now he was no more hating winter, because he knew that it was the time for the spring season to get some rest, and after some time she will once again return back. She will wake up and she will return. Suddenly he rubbed his eyes in wonder and looked and looked. It certainly was a marvelous sight. In the farthest corner of the garden was a tree quite covered with lovely white blossoms. Its branches were all golden and silver fruit hung down from them, and underneath it stood the little boy he had loved. Suddenly he was surprised. Why? Because he could not believe his eyes. That what did he see? He saw that at the farthest corner of the garden, one tree was full of white, soft white flowers, and under that tree, the same little boy was standing, who was his first friend. Downstairs ran the giant in great joy and out into the garden. He hastened across the grass and came near to the child. And when he came quite close, his face grew red with anger. And he said, "Who hath dared to wound thee?" For on the palms of the child's hands were the prints of 2 nails, and the prints of 2 nails were on the little feet. Now, after seeing his little companion for so long, after so long time, he could not keep his joy anymore, and he ran down the stairs of his palace, of his castle, and ran into the garden hastily, very fast, and he went near to the child. But as soon as he went near to the child, he became very angry and his face became red with anger. And he asked, who had dared to hurt you? Because he found that the palms of the small boy, the two palms of the small boy, they were wounded, and the wound marks belong to the nails, as well as the uh, feet of the child also. The feet, there was the nail marks. So he asked that such a his friend and such a small fragile little child, and he was wounded, who had dared to wound his friend? So he became very angry. Who had dared to wound thee? Cried the giant. Tell me, that I may take my big sword and slay him. So the giant said that who had hurt you? Just tell me now. I will take my big sword and I will slay that person. Slay mean kill that person. So, nay, answered the child, but these are the wounds of love. The boy said, no, no, these wounds, they don't hurt me, because they are the wounds that has been given for the love. Now here is the beauty, because you may understand right now that the boy was actually Jesus Christ. He had turned himself into a little boy. He came to the rescue of the giant because he was selfish. So he came to the giant to teach him the lessons in love and unselfish heart. So Jesus Christ, he was crucified, he was punished, he was crucified, and he was his palms and the feet were all nailed on the cross. So that is why the small boy's palms and the feet had the nail marks. And he said that when the giant got angry, that who had injured you, tell me, I am going to kill that person. Then he replied that no, these are not the wounds that hurt me. These are the wounds because of the love. Who art thou? Said the giant, and a strange awe fell on him, and he knelt before the little child. So the giant was surprised. He was speechless rather to listen to this answer from the small child, and he knelt down in front of the boy, and he asked that who are you? Such a little boy, and you are answering like this. Who are you? Um, thou is the old version of you in English. And the child smiled on the giant and said to him, you let me play once in your garden. Today you shall come with me to my garden, which is paradise. So the boy said that one day you let me play in your garden. You allowed me to play in your garden. So today I have come to take you to my garden, which is the heaven. So God has come to take the giant with him to heaven. And when the children ran in that afternoon, they found the giant lying dead under the tree, all covered with white blossoms. So late in the afternoon, when the school got over, when the children came to play in the giant's garden, they found that the garden was lying under the tree, with his body covered with white flowers, all over the white flower, a blanket of white flowers, and he was dead. So this was the story of the selfish giant, the giant who was once a very selfish and cruel. So he was turned into a loving and caring and unselfish giant by the god. Students, these are some extra word meanings. You copy them down in your copy along with the word meanings from your book.